For those of you who don't know, but I also feature sarcastic commentary on my Patreon, which isn't posted anywhere else. I thought that it would be fun to highlight the top snark from every single day as an incentive to get people to join. I started the month off with the tail end of Iron King, then jumped into the second book of the Alienated trilogy, Invaded. Then I rounded out the month with Iron Daughter. Finally, for the last few days of September, I started in on the third installment of the Alienated trilogy. The Elder then calls him forward and basically says, "No need to tell us of the plot, we're blocking plot devices. We also know of the exact thing that you need in order to stop the Iron King. Struggles? Oh well, what's that? I'm literally going to hand you the solution. The magical weapon is the wood from the ancient tree, but in giving it to Meg to be used as a weapon, the Elder Dryad would die. She tells Meg that she'd intended to give it up to her, but doesn't even say anything about stopping the Iron King or anything. Nope, simply a, take this free plot device, no struggles needed. The writing in this is so comically bad and not even in a fun way. I'm all for fairies being born from the new dreams of humans, but what I'm not down for is the idea that 100% technology and 100% progress is bad and evil. For several minutes I sat there, too dumb to even cry. I couldn't believe that Ash was really dead. I kept staring at the caved-in wall, half expecting him to somehow miraculously push the rebel bruised and bloody but alive. How long I sat there, I don't know. He ain't dead until you see a body. I don't know what the author has planned, but seeing as how he's the only love interest, I'm somehow expecting Ash to come back at some point. There's an awful lot of series, although they could simply introduce a new character in the rest of the series, who knows? Say hello to your new baby brother Linus. He's a German multi-doodle-poo. At exactly what point should you draw the line and say he's a mutt? These designer dogs are getting ridiculous. You know what this reminds me of? Those neutral aliens from Futurama, except that Futurama was funny. This is honestly kind of lame and has been from the get-go. You can do literally anything with your aliens and have them be anything, and you pick beige as your aesthetic. Too late to talk you out of this citizenship stuff. You don't belong here, Pepper. This place is, He deliberated over his next choice of words, and leaned in and confided, intense, while she shook her head, Troy hitched her thumb towards Alex's vacant room a few doors down. Listen, I know you like this guy. Love, she corrected. I love this guy. Right, he flashed his most condescending whatever face, but you've got nothing in common. It won't last. 100% agree. She's making a rash decision simply because she fancies herself in love with a guy she hasn't even known for a full year. Worth noting that Kara is 17. This is only temporary. Once we're on the colony, everything will change. You'll see. Like, I'm not doubting that the things in the colony are different. After all, the colony was made to see if it's the social conditioning that's holding the species back. But I feel like the two of them are holding the colony up to these impossible standards that can never and will never be met. Greener grass and all that. I can't even imagine getting every sick kid in a nursery tested to find out exactly what they had. Imagine the money going into that program. The school where my mom works can barely afford to turn the lights on. Kerr also tries to explain about how sus the colony is, but again, Elix doesn't believe her. The entire thing is maddening, if only because Kara is willing to live as a second-class citizen, but the second she feels like she can't go anywhere, that's where she draws the line. She and Elix kind of get into a fight over if they should live on Earth, and I get that it's terrible, but exactly what I've been saying this entire time. The two of them are literally children, and their relationship likely won't last long anyway. The semi part is probably good because it's telling them how much the other culture stinks. Isaac Richards is backing the alliance. Right, Kara said with a snort, and I'll ride a unicorn back to my gingerbread dorm. I swear it on my Abrela's grave, Tori raised one hand in oath. He said the jerkwads have more to offer than he thought. He should still be careful, but no more protests or he'll disband their chapters. It's not so much that I doubt his seriousness after having read Alexis and Cepha convince him to do this. It's that when his followers start to doubt him, they're going to break away and continue to do what they're doing anyways. These situations almost never end well. Hey man, I watch other Richard Wolf shows, you know. I love his FBI series. He began to wonder if Isaac Richards had told the truth when he denied responsibility for the attacks, but if the Patriots of Earth didn't want Elix unalived, then who did? As I keep saying, the leader can say that they should partner with the aliens until he's blue in the face, but the problem is that he was literally in charge of an anti-alien hate group. Logic and clear thinking is not their strong suit. If the leader announces that they should partner with the aliens, people will simply split off and continue trying to unalive Elix and Cyrene. Rooting out the culprit will be simple. I'll order the guards to perform a mental interview with every clone in your Aegis until the individual is found. With a nod, she added, and then neutralize. Kara didn't like the sound of that. You mean unalived? Of course, it is our way. They literally tried to frame you for attempted unaliving her. Do you seriously want somebody like that walking around? The hears, we want to improve ourselves. Kara, okay, here's some ways that you can. Hears, no, not like that. This is true. Do the aliens seriously think that the humans would simply sit by and let a terrible situation continue? No, I don't think so. They'd fight for a chance to pick their job, they'd fight for their 2 days off, and they'd fight for their democracy. Eventually, the three of them go to the center where the alliance signing is to take place. Kara puts eye drops into her eyes to make them look wetter than usual, and she goes crying to Jackson about how he's dead. Jackson, the forking idiot that he is, basically does the villain monologue at this point about how he doesn't think humans deserve to live, but they'll be good use as cannon fodder in the upcoming war. Finally, Meg gets ready, and this book's replacement for the talking cat, a thing named Ethan the Puka, shows her to map. And then the narration screeches to yet another halt so that we can spend one unholy page first describing first Tatiana, who isn't even there, and then how scary Mab is. I wouldn't mind this if the plot wasn't acting like a car that won't start. Do you know what Rowan would do if he found out what we did? Do you know what Mab would do? I had to make them believe I didn't care or they would have torn you apart. On a scale of 1 to 10, Meg is need to have basic content spelled out for her like she's 5, but also over and over because she failed to understand the first time. They go to a market where Ash reassures her that they don't care about politics there, only the deal. He warns her not to buy anything as the cost will be steep. In the market you can find pretty much anything evil or bad from fairy tales, but the cost is stuff like a memory or your firstborn child, etc., etc. You don't understand, he gurgled as Ash looked down on him sadly. We were going to become like them. Rowan promised us. He promised. Right. The man who would sell your soul for 1 corn chip told you that you would become part of the New World Order. It's probably for the best that Ash ran him through with the sword, or else he would have died a slow and insanely painful death, still thinking that he was becoming like the Iron Fae. Just because he cannot lie does not mean he cannot deceive human. Robin Goodfellow is an expert at dancing around the truth. She somehow knew who Puck was from Shakespeare, but knows nothing else about fairy lore or cliches. I don't mind spending a page explaining all of this, but what I do mind is the narration stops for 2 pages simply so that they can enter the freaking maze. However, it's nothing in comparison to the narration wasting page after page of them wandering through the stupid Thorn maze. Meg mopes around for a while before Leah's 3 half-breed goldfish show up. Upon finding out that she's currently alone, they then take her as hostage. Surprise! They struck a bargain with the new Iron King. I can't even say, curse your sudden and inevitable betrayal, because fairies betraying other fairies? Oh gee. For the first 3 pages of the chapter, they stand around and they're like, the scepter is on floor 29 and a half. What does that even mean? How will we get there? And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Which, again, is fine that they're talking about this stuff, but what's not fine is how much time is spent on it. Leah then asks Meg what happened. She says that she tried to get the full story, but the cat wasn't there for most of it, and Iron Horse and Puck were too busy being worried over Meg's condition to give a proper answer. Meg then rehashes the previous 2 chapters, in case you missed it somehow. Simultaneously telling Puck to calm down for a second, but also trying to communicate with the Iron Bug instead of Ash. Meg finds out that she's able to tell the thing to leave. Literally 2 pages later, and the thing leaves Ash. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. But then again, the rest of this series up until this point has been Meg faced with the struggle and her overcoming it by at least the end of this single chapter. So I don't know why I'm surprised. Subtlety has never been Goodfellow's forte. He murdered, ignoring Puck's scowl. We're not here to cause a riot, and human emotions have always been easy to manipulate. Like mine were, I wondered as we continued across the gym floor, did you just cast a charm spell to manipulate my emotions like Rowan tried to do? Are my feelings for you real or some sort of fabricated glamour? And do I even care if they are? Jeez, simply because you're too stupid and need to have things spelled out for you like you're 5 doesn't mean that Ash manipulated you into loving him. Right then, Ash and Puck throw a thorn guard at Mab's feet. They pull off the guard's glove to reveal that the man's hand is completely blackened with iron poisoning. Puck goes on to say that every single thorn guard has been wearing iron rings, but they left this one alive so that he can explain himself. The man tries to defend himself by saying that he was only acting under orders, but obviously that doesn't work. They'd have the whole community to themselves for the first couple of weeks while she finished negotiating the colony charter. It would be almost like a vacation, and they were long overdue for some fun in the sun. If she thinks that literally any part of this is going to be remotely fun, have I got some bad news for her. The software created for us by the experts at E-Compatibility has already resulted in a few love matches, and I'm confident that many more will follow. They're seriously determining the future success of both races based on off-brand e-harmony. Jackson glided towards them, his long ponytail rippling in the breeze as he stood atop a hovercraft that bore a slight resemblance to the human surfboard. Elix didn't recognize the technology as anything that existed on Earth or Lahir, and he wondered where Jackson had obtained it. The instant Jackson met Elix's gaze, his face broke into a maniac grin that made him appear deranged. There was something new in Jackson's eyes, a recklessness that prompted Elix to chuck her further behind him. I know that the author probably intended for the bad guy to be on this super cool future technology thing, but this entire thing reminds me too much of Green Goblin, and I can't take it seriously. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, then you can read the entire Snark in full context on my Patreon for $1 a month. Come back next month for more out of context comments.